There are so many things that I had forgotten about that first house. Terri, I'm so glad that you brought those out to us. But what about the second house?
The second house. Well, I believe, George, that really what got us from the first house into the second house really was a continual result of the two things: seeking the kingdom, seek first the kingdom, Matthew 6:33. All these things will be added to you. Seek first the kingdom. What things? Well, kingdom things, first of all.
Sure.
Kingdom things. I mean, kingdom realities. And we were growing in that. As we mentioned just a little bit ago, that it was this feeding on the word, the tapes playing. I mean, it's just part of our life. You know, it's just going day and night, a lot of times. Happening in the car, put our cassette tape in the car. And there just wasn't a whole lot else in our lives. We didn't have room for a lot of other things. I mean, we enjoyed life. We did fun things, but we didn't desire a lot of other things. It was more about seeking the Word and the kingdom of God, what God wanted us to do in our life. But then part of that being the tither, that's seeking the kingdom, that's seeking to do things the kingdom way. And I just believe the blessing of the tither was doing things for us that we didn't even know to ask for. We didn't know what to expect. So this house was too small. There's something on the inside of us that's reaching for something bigger.
Right.
But we didn't know, had no idea. We really hadn't even taken action to look for another house. Didn't even see financially how we could. So we were just at that place where it's getting bigger on the inside of us, but I don't think we had really taken any action. But boy, it changed literally overnight.
Yeah, we knew that it was getting time to go.
It was, but what happened was my grandparents, my grandfather in particular, could see that the ministry was moving north of Fort Worth. Now, Arlington, we were south, southeast of Fort Worth. And the ministry had bought the property we're currently on, and we would be moving north. And he was still very active in the ministry, and he wanted to be closer. So there was a community not terribly far from the ministry, though there were no houses in this area whatsoever. There was a little community that stood off all by itself, and he bought a house there. I didn't even know they were looking. He just went and bought the house.
Yep.
Well, that didn't go over with my grandmother very much. Now, my grandmother was one of those women that had her dream house. She moved into that house when I was, just before I was born, and she had no intention of moving. So I think she agreed to let him buy that house, but she wasn't going anywhere. And finally, when it came down to putting that house for sale, she said, A.W., I'm not leaving. So I think it was pretty much, you can move if you want to, but I'm not going. So he realized he was going to be stuck with this house, and they were always looking to be a blessing to us. So they called us. I remember I was laying on our bed in our little bedroom there in Arlington, and he called me and he said, I want you to take this house, which we'd only seen it one time, and I'd walked through it thinking they had bought it for themselves. Paid very little attention to it for us, had never thought that. I want you to take this house. And you guys just live in there, and I think he actually had hopes that we could live there for a while and he could talk Nani into selling that house.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And that she would want to move and be out there closer to us and everybody. By that time, my dad had moved into the area. And so we lived there for a few months, and it hadn't been there very long, and it became very clear that she's not coming. But in a matter of, I think from the time he called me to the time we moved into that house was 3 or 4 days. It seems like it was less than a week. I still remember the phone call. We packed, which it didn't take a whole lot to pack that house we were in. We borrowed a truck from the ministry, which was just a little short bed truck, put everything we owned in that truck in the back seat of our car.
All we had to do with the bookshelf is just let it fall over and it flapped into one. Load it up.
That bookshelf. You know, my cousin that built that, he greatly improved his furniture building techniques after that.
He really did.
Especially when he found out he'd nearly killed his cousin with the bookshelf. He found a way to keep it upright. Oh, how funny. And you know, that bookshelf still lives today.
It does live today.
It still lives
Not
today.
in our house, but it does live
It
today.
does live today. Praise God. So we just packed up everything, that little house. I still remember we had 1 or 2 people come help us. It just didn't take much to load it up. Moved into this second home, and we were so thankful for it. Well, after we'd been there for a few months, my grandfather said, kids, your grandmother's not budging. She's not moving. So what I want you to do, I want you to have this house, and here's how we'll work it out. Now, he paid cash for a portion of that house, and then he had a loan on the rest of it. So he said, I want you to pay me back for the part I paid cash, and I just know, I happen to know that he did not charge us the full amount. He gave us a granddad deal.
Yeah.
It was a good thing that he did too. He gave us a granddad deal. So we had to pay him back, and we had to assume the loan then, and we actually got the title to the house, so we weren't just paying him. So he worked this out, and that was good in one respect, except that now we went from this single little payment for this house we were in to 2 payments a month. So we were paying him, and we had assumed the loan. You remember how tight that was? It was tight. It was a squeezer.
Yep.
But the Lord helped us. You know, He made a way for us. Naturally speaking, even though things had changed financially for us to some degree. I mean, over the years, we'd increased and proven ourselves to be worth a little bit more than slightly below minimum wage, where we started, I think. But the Lord had helped us and blessed us that way. So we were doing a little better financially, but still, I mean, it was tight. Two payments a month.
Yeah.
And once again, we find in our house, that being in this house, we're like that old marble in the jar. We're rolling around. This house was double the square footage, the one we had. And so the one couch that we had in the other house had taken up the whole living space. The couch and the chair, now the couch and the chair is not filling up the living space. Right. We actually had room where we could invite people over
really
and sit in those chairs. So the Lord blessed us. You know, I remember, George, we wanted vacation, and we never had extra money for a vacation, for anything like that, because we were putting everything into this house. But there were some people that we knew that his business had a working arrangement with we call it travel agency. Yeah. And this travel agency, part of what they did was barter with companies and give away free trips to Hawaii. And he had way more than he wanted, and so he gave us one.
Trips to Hawaii.
Over those years, he sent us 3 or 4 times to Hawaii.
Beautiful.
Everything paid for. Condo, rent car, everything but our grocery bill. And so we were really blessed. We went to Hawaii. Airfare, everything. Everything. He paid our way for that. So we were blessed. You know, we weren't, it was tight, but we weren't suffering, except for this one thing. Now, as far as I was concerned, this was suffering. There were only a few colors in the whole color spectrum that I just can hardly stand to look at in a decorating sense. Orange, rust, which is just a version of orange, and brown. I guess rust is a combination of orange and brown. And so we didn't mind moving into this house at first because we thought Nani and Granddad were going to move into it.
Right.
But listen, this house had rust-colored carpet, orange countertops. Everything else in the house was brown, with the exception of the rust and orange-colored wallpaper that had silver accents. The wallpaper in every room was one version or another of orange, rust, and silver. And a little cream thrown in here and there for good measure. I was surrounded with these colors that I just, for me, I did not like those colors. And we were coming into the 80s. Everything was pink and green, and the whole rust thing had gone out with the 70s. So it was really painful for me. But the Lord helped me to tolerate that, really. But when I think back on it, George, that's what it was. We tolerated it. You know that commercial, I don't even know if it's still on, but that vegetable drink, and the guy would go,
Oh, yeah.
I could have had a V8.
Yeah, yeah.
So I could have had prosperity. I could have had the word on things. I could have had the word on new wallpaper. But you know, it just didn't come to us. We were so focused on meeting those monthly payments and just living our lives. And God helped us, and we did well, and we increased. We put back some money and some savings, and eventually we were able to pay Granddad off. I'm just trying to remember, 4 years to pay him off?
Something like
three,
that,
4,
yeah.
5, maybe up to 6 years. It may have been up to 6 years, but not more than that. But still, all that time, we're making those double payments. And got him paid. And partly because he had made what we owed him was pretty small amount. But you know, like I said, this house was a nice house, a custom-built home, nice brick house, and double the square footage, which was really great. So we paid Granddad back, and we started to save. And we're being diligent. We had savings. You're so diligent. You're always diligent. You were so diligent then. Put money back in savings, and you know, we were trusting the Lord in a very general sense. So He was blessing us, the Lord was blessing us, and the extra was coming. So our savings account's growing some.
Right.
But I didn't know what it would take to relieve me of this decorating pain that I was decorating dilemma that we were in. But with the blessing of the Lord, He helped us, and we were able to make some changes. Now, I have a creative eye about a lot of things, but I've been so focused all our married life on ministry and the television department, all those things. I never really took the time to develop much in the area of decorating. I knew what I liked, I just didn't know how to get it that way. But you know, God supplied. We were preparing to build property, the new headquarters building out here. And with that, there was a decorator hired for the building, and we became friends, and she offered to help me. And so she helped me pick out the colors, and man, I went from rust to pink and green as fast as I could in about half the house. I was only good for about half the house. And so all this time, we are believing God. And but it was funny, that took about 6 years from the time we moved in to get to that point. And I remember that it was 6 years because it happened about the time Aubrey was born.
Yeah.
And I remember that because the whole nesting thing and the money available kicked in sort of late in my pregnancy. So I'm actually making phone calls to the painter from the hospital bed, telling him how to finish up and do a few things, but it was nice.
You're amazing, you know, you just really are amazing from the hospital bed.
From the hospital bed. Well, we had to finish it up. But it was really nice to come home and at least part of the house was fresh.
That's going to be the ultimate in multitasking.
Have a baby.
Have a baby
Yeah, but I didn't call from the labor room. just the hospital.
You could have, though.
Praise God. I can picture it. So it was nice, though, to come home with a new baby and have some fresh colors.
It was nice.
In part of the
very
house.
nice.
We had new carpet, and I believe we had painted the walls fresh, and what else did we? Oh, and new bedding. It's the first time in all those years we'd
rid
had
of the rust
brand new
and
bedding. Well, in half the house. The back half of the house, the bedroom half of the house had some fresh colors, and the living room had fresh carpet, and it was really nice. So, you know, we lived along with that for another 6 years. Just going along.
Yeah.
I got so tired of that orangey colored, orange and turquoise, rust, brown, whatever it was, in the kitchen one day. I just got so tired of it, I took it and I ripped it off the wall. I don't know what I thought I was going to do, but I ripped it off the wall, and it was a vinyl wallpaper, so it had backing. So the backing on the wallpaper was actually kind of a creamy yellowy color, and I thought, well, that's not too bad. So it never occurred to me to paint over that. I just did not have a can-do mindset. Actually, what it was there was a limitation in my thinking about money. I didn't realize it was there. Now, we could believe God for finances for certain other things, but when it came to the house, I had a real, we call it a mental block, but it was a spiritual block. I didn't see us with the money.
Yeah.
And really, I could have afforded some paint, but I didn't see us doing it. I didn't see myself taking care of that. Very busy, two young children, very busy in the ministry, and I just couldn't really see it. So we went along like that with that goofy wallpaper backing, I don't know, for several years. And the Lord helped us, and it's important to notice that we were giving. We knew how to do that, and we were actually developing in our ability to give. Listen to the Lord, learn to sow. I don't know if you remember, I gave our living room furniture away. I did that a couple of times.
I do remember that.
Okay, and so you remember what we did?
Yeah, our lawn chairs.
The lawn chairs came in the living room. Now, that's not talking nice lawn furniture, okay?
No, it's just lawn chairs.
You know, lawn chairs. We're talking just fold
I remember
up.
sitting there watching TV with the kids.
Oh, you know where I got that lawn furniture? I remember now. I paid $100 for it in Arkansas from a guy on the side of the road, and it was bent willow furniture. Do you remember that? It was bent willow furniture that he formed into a love seat, this, and two chairs, okay? So this stuff was raw treated furniture. So this is, even though this is late 1980s, yet it was still raw wood furniture, bent willow furniture, with nails poking out of it, but we had some cushions on it, and it looked pretty cute for a while. But you know, you use it every day, and oh my goodness. So we had that in the room for a while, and it's, I'd have to vacuum around it because it was
dry out and fall on the floor.
It was drying out and falling off.
Where the kids would sit there and pick it off.
But you know, the Lord always provided. He always prospered us, and I remember we found somebody blessed us with a really good deal on some couches. They were new, but they'd never been, they were used, but they'd never been used. Yeah. So they were like new. And they were just what I wanted, and we had those. It was a couch and love seat, and boy, the house was starting to look nice on my new, nice seafoam green color of the 80s carpet. Seafoam green. Boy, I was really styling back then. So the Lord really did bless us over the years. We're giving, we're tithing, we're increasing. Our giving is increasing. We're being led by the Spirit in our giving. We're sowing into the ministry. We're sowing, and we're living for the kingdom. You know, our lives, we endeavored, whether it was our job or raising our children, to be led by the Spirit. Lord, what would you have us to do? That's really important when you're raising children. So our kids were really different. They were 7 years apart, a boy and a girl, and so you just have to be led by the Spirit. How you raise your children. You can't, well, I'm going to do it just like this and this is the way my mother did it, so we're going to do it that way, or this is the way my mother did it, so I'm absolutely not going to do it that way. You can't plan on any of that. You be led by the Spirit and learn, you know, from your own experiences, but you're led by the Spirit. So this next 6 years, what's happening? The vision's growing inside of us. Now, being led by the Spirit, the Lord led me. Aubrey was about 3, I think, when the Lord almost 4. The Lord told me to retire from my position in the television department and stay home. Wow. I'd never considered doing that, but I knew it was time, and He made it very clear. So the focus of my life changed. Well, I'm at home a lot more, and in that time, I'm praying a lot more. And the Lord started teaching me some things in prayer, my fellowship with Him that I'd never had the time to develop. Right. So the emphasis was not just on the Word, the emphasis of the realm of the Spirit, being led by the Spirit, was increasing in my life, my awareness of it. Doing much more on purpose, mixing this seek the Word and the leading of the Spirit, putting them together in ways that, like I said, on purpose, that I hadn't really thought of or taken notice of. And God had helped us. We were led by the witness of the Spirit. Yes. I think we always were, even when we were dating. You know, we knew something about the leading of the witness of the Spirit, that this is right, that's not right, follow him. And he had been faithful to lead us, but this was another dimension of it. This was more on purpose. And I don't know if you remember, but the results of that were outstanding. Whereas before, the Lord was blessing us, but we weren't really sure so much how, but we're growing in purpose for things. So we weren't pastoring at the time, not yet. But I was very active in the church, and you were too. But I was teaching in a members class. So I'm standing there teaching membership. As soon as it's over, a lady walks up to me. I'd never met her before that I recalled. And she said, the Lord has spoken to me and told me that I'm to get involved with you with whatever project you're working on. Well, I had, in this newfound prayer time, had been confessing and believing and quoting scriptures about getting rid of that orange countertop and the floors and so forth. And I told her, I said, well, my project is I'm believing God to do some things in my house. And she said, okay, that's fine. And she wrote me a check. Well, I thought, you didn't expect, what, $100, $200? That'd be nice. Praise God. It was several $1,000.
Praise God.
Several $1,000. And she gave me that. Well, there you had it. That was my countertops, new flooring in the kitchen, new wall colors. Praise God. And he helped me. He paid for it in one lump sum and the help that I needed to get it done.
Yeah.
So all this time, God's really moving us along, progressing me.
Right.
So here we are at this place that we lived there now another few more years, and this vision, this time with the Lord, is just increasing something on the inside of me in such a way that I feel it, I can tell it, and I was becoming very dissatisfied with where we lived. And you'd think I would remain satisfied in this house. It was a nice house, it wasn't tiny, but I felt I was outgrowing it from the inside out.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
So we didn't know what to do, but just to be led. And all we knew to do to put action to our faith, again, do you remember what we did?
Yeah, the Lord gave us an assignment.
He gave us an assignment.
Start packing.
Start packing. So we
Packing by faith.
Exactly what I was going to say. We were packing by faith.
Yep.
So we packed all the things that we didn't really need, and cardboard boxes stacked to the ceiling in the dining room. And the house smelled like cardboard.
It did.
And it was that way. It wasn't that way a few days. It was that way weeks. I don't know, probably several months.
Yeah.
But it's good sometimes to put pressure on your flesh. It's good sometimes to apply pressure to your circumstances.
But he gave that to us. That
He did.
was an
It was
assignment
his leading.
to help build our faith and to get us to the place where we're ready to go.
Could see us moving.
Yeah.
Could see us out. And we had a lot of envisioning that needed to happen for what he was doing on the inside. Didn't have a picture to it. I could feel it. You could too.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a picture of what that really looked like. But we knew we were well on our way for transitioning out of this house to the next house. But this next one wasn't going to come quite as quick and suddenly as we had the move from the first house to the second. But through all of it, God was teaching us, developing our faith, developing our ability to hear his voice and his leading, and we could see the end to our time in our second house as we got ready for the third.